2024 Macau Grand Prix, the 71st running of this historic event, is set to get underway with the qualifying race. New for this year is the FR chassis, replacing Formula 3, and it has given us a fantastic entry. Two really interesting qualifying sessions, one wet, one dry, both full of drama and incident, and a grid headed by the American driver Ugo Ugochukwu. The pit lane has just opened. The cars making their way out on circuit. David Addison and Alan Hyde are trackside, and both looking forward to what promises to be a really good race, because even though we've had 2 free practice and 2 qualifying, we haven't really got a proper pattern, have we, as to who is quick around here, because a rhythm has been hard to find for all the incidents.
We have not had a day so warm. 27 degrees the air temperature and well over 30 degrees the track temperature heading into our first race of the weekend, the single-seaters. And yesterday in qualifying, it was all about patience and concentration, and that was exactly what Ugo Ugochukwu, one of the development drivers for McLaren, has been so for many years, was able to reign supreme. Pole position for the American. We're about to see for the first time racing this weekend, and the first time really in perfect conditions. Nice, warm, sticky tarmac for brand new rubber, and we see them heading around the circuit to line up on the grid, and it will be the first time that we've seen this particular car racing around the streets of Macau.
And this particular type of car is the Tatius F3T 318 chassis. They have 2-litre Alfa Romeo badge engines, the Autotecnica Motori engine. They'll do 0 to 100 in 3.3 seconds. They'll nudge up to 255 kilometres an hour. So these are still serious bits of kit. And around this 6.1 kilometre lap, 38 gear changes per lap. And we've also had drops of rain being reported at turn 21, and that's not far from the start and finish line. So a wet and dry circuit would be another curveball to throw at them, including at this man, Tuka Tampinen. You're riding on board with him to the grid. You rode on board with him yesterday, where at about this very corner, he suddenly understeered wide and went crank into the barrier.
And we weren't predicting really that we would have drops of rain ahead of our first single-seater race. We were just talking about the perfect conditions and the opportunity for slick tyres to be working around the circuit, and all of a sudden Macau offers another element of drama, as if with a circuit like this you didn't have enough drama just in having cars racing around a 6.1 kilometre circuit around the streets of Macau. Then all of a sudden we get the question mark over the weather.
The drivers are coming into the pit lane not because they have a problem, but because the regulations allow to come through the pit lane for 1 extra reconnaissance lap, and that means that all the officials that are standing there making sure the teams go the right way down the pit lane, the personnel now have to scatter out of the way themselves, because Oliver Goethe aboard number 1 is making his way through the pit lane. Tuka Tampinen likewise, just to get 1 more lap of knowledge of the circuit, just to get a little bit more warmth into the tyres. And it's also a psychological thing. They've not gone to the grid. Why? I better not go either. I'll follow suit, go down the pit lane. But it does have a benefit. It's just another lap, another bit of mileage around the circuit, because actually, despite the track time afforded to them, so many red flags have we had. 8 in qualifying yesterday, 7 yesterday, and how many on Thursday?
5.
5, plus what happened in free practice. Therefore, it's been so bitty. Getting in mileage, getting in full laps, clear laps, has been very difficult indeed. And they also here can do a practice start look on the exit from the pit lane. It
was a testing day yesterday, not just for the single-seaters, but for everybody, with the conditions, the way they were. For many, the first opportunity they had had to drive around the gear circuit in drier conditions. And in total, over all of the forms of racing that we had around Macau yesterday, we had 22 red flags. Yes, we went through and added them all up yesterday evening.
And also yesterday evening, while you were doing that, Rui Marquez, who is the race director, and Emanuele Pirro, who looks after the single-seater commission, got all the drivers together. And whatever is the next thing from the Riot Act, it was read to them about respecting the circuit and about respecting each other, because it was getting silly by the end of yesterday with so many stoppages.
It was so difficult for the drivers, those that stayed out of trouble and had to retain that psychological focus down in pit lane for a very, very long time. And that was when Ugo Chukwu rather proved the fact that he had a bit of experience here at Macau, knew what the key was to unlocking it, to be ready to go and put in that killer lap when it was required, and he did exactly that.
The top speed of these cars, which is on the way down to Lisboa, 255 kilometres an hour, you're on full throttle for over 65% of the lap, which is quite something. It does show how fast the lap Macau is. They're all running on a sustainable fuel as well this year from ETS, and a 2:19 in the end was pole position yesterday, although estimated lap times were 2:14, so maybe drivers getting into a rhythm, and as a race car's fuel load comes down, we might be able to get better than 2:19. We shall see, because of course drivers and teams come here with limited experience and data of this particular chassis. Yeah, okay, it's a kind of Formula 3 style car, but they haven't got a Macau setup to just slap on and go racing. A number of the drivers are returning to Macau because either they haven't won it or they love it, or both. A number of drivers are new to Macau. A number of drivers are new to Macau and this car. The FR chassis that runs in Formula Regional events. There's one in America, there's Japan, there's Oceania, Europe, Middle East Championship at the start of the year. The Middle East champion is on this grid, this is a man returning, Dino Beganovic, who, if you think back 12 months, was very quick within the F3 Grand Prix, but crashed on his way to Lisboa in the main race, the Sunday Grand Prix itself. Made that move on the inside and then couldn't get the car slowed down. He was in the wars yesterday because, having gone fastest, he came round a corner and found an accident had happened right in front of him, blind right-hander. His teammate Alex Dunn had already hit the parked car of Rintaro Sato, and Beganovic ploughed into it as well. So his grid position doesn't really reflect the pace that he has got. He is 15th on the grid. Also thinking of the grid, James Wharton, who is 14th, got a 3-place grid drop last night because he was adjudged to have misjudged the speed of Jin Nakamura's car, got it to the back of him, and then propelled Nakamura into the barriers down at Arbenne. So Wharton copped a 3-place grid drop as a consequence of that. And
Dino Beganovic is one of the drivers where you really do see at work the fact that being quick, having great racecraft around the streets of Macau, that's not enough. You also need a little dose of luck as well, and sometimes luck can play against you, as Beganovic realised yesterday. Let's see what today's race. It's quite a joy to be travelling on board around this second reconnaissance lap, second lap from pit lane, twisting around the barriers and the walls of the top part of the circuit, the tight and twisty section on the gear circuit here at Macau. The long right-hander, left-hander at Donna Maria leads up towards the no overtaking zone, the Melco hairpin. It's enough to get these cars threaded around the corner, let alone thinking about defending or attacking for a position in the race. And that is the reason why throughout the course of 4 days for the Macau Grand Prix, no overtaking at the Melco hairpin. It's not allowed. This is where the circuit opens up after the Melco hairpin, down through Black Sands on towards Fisherman's, and the final turn is Arbenne, and that's where they will see all of a sudden the grid already populated with the teams, and very soon with all of the representations of the sponsors and the local hotels in this region. And for many of these drivers, some as young as 16 years of age, they will have never known a race build-up quite like a build-up to a race at Macau. Today is the qualification race. Tomorrow, add an awful lot of ceremony in the run-up towards the start of the race.
It's looking rather dark overhead, dare I point out, as Dino Beganovic comes up to the grid. So this could be a very difficult time for the drivers and indeed race control, and it could be that out of 10 laps ahead of us, towards the end it starts to get a little bit inclement, and they're all on Pirelli slick tyres for the start of this race, with, as Alan has made the point, Ugo Chukwu on pole position, the McLaren junior driver.
Just seeing some of the teams looking up to the sky and holding the hand out as you do your own personal barometer for, is it raining? Is it not? Did I feel a spot of rain? And at this point, leading up to the start of the race, you almost have psychological rain. I'm sure I just felt rain. I'm sure I just felt drops.
Well, the teams will be ready with yet more wet tyres. Normally, they have a real panic about when to use the sets of slicks available to them, because you want to keep a set for this race and a fresh set, if you can, for the Grand Prix itself. They only have 4 sets of Pirelli slicks. Well, they've barely scratched the surface of that. Only really one session, and that was Q2 yesterday. Have they had to think about them? The countdown here continues, and the 5-minute board is going to be imminent.
Yeah, the countdown to the qualification race is far shorter than the countdown tomorrow, because we will have ceremonial start to the race tomorrow, which is very traditional. Always brings a smile to the face, because it couldn't happen anywhere else but Macau before the Macau Grand Prix.
And it's something new for the drivers, you know, because many of them may have been racing at big events if they've been in a support category to a Grand Prix, let's say FIA Formula 3 or FIA F2. But to be out of the car, to stand for a group photograph with the dignitaries from Macau SAR before the race, that's quite something. And it's interesting to see how they cope with it, because some are quite happy to go through that. Others are all a bit nervy, a little bit uncomfortable, because they want to be in the car and thinking about the race.
I'm sure none of them have been involved in lining up on a grid alongside a massive chicken. And I've just seen a massive chicken making its way down the grid. I'm not sure it's the peacock that we saw earlier on, is it?
I can't see any chickens. You're just fantasising.
You wait.
No.
You wait.
Lights out of bed again. Matron. Definitely you. This is the man on pole, Ugo Chukwu. And also lining up at the front of the grid, a driver with experience. They were both in last year's F3 race. This is Oliver Goethe. Now, he's not a regular FR racer. He's been away in F3 and then stepping up to F2 at the end of the year. But he wants to crack Macau, and here he is. Different type of category for him, different chassis, different car, but he knows the circuit.
Had an unusual qualifying as well yesterday, because when the car came into the pit lane, the fire extinguisher was deployed by accident, and then the team had to work to clear up the inside of the car and fit a new extinguisher.
And somebody was posing a question to us on Twitter last night. Was it because he'd gone to the scrutineering patch and one of the scrutineers had done it? And Oliver Goethe said it was all down to him. He just sort of moved his hand at the wrong angle, the wrong time, and touched it. All down to him. He took full responsibility. You've seen Noel Leon lining up third. You've seen Enzo Dallini fourth, and their fifth is Mari Boya, who was in FIA F3 this year, but did race in the FR Middle Eastern Championship at the start of the calendar year. Mari Boya driving like Noel Leon for the KCMG IXO by Pinnacle Motorsport team, the Mexican and Spanish partnership. Some teams have got 3 drivers and some have got 2. And for Evans GP here is Cooper Webster, who is also an esports driver for the Oracle Red Bull racing team, former karter, former BMX driver, and last year's Indian F4 champion, and has been racing in F4 in Australia this year, 7th in the title race. There's a big chicken there, or is that a peacock?
Looks like a chicken to me.
7th on the grid was Freddie Slater, the British driver, next to a chicken. And 8th is Teofil Neal. There he is in number 14, which is the Sansalot car. And Teofil Neal, last year's Spanish champion, 9th in FR in Europe this year. Evan Gilter next on the grid, number 17, last year's French F4 champion, and a race winner, 7th in this year's Formula Regional European Series in the so-called FRACA Championship. There is number 26, which is Matteo De Palo, who had a tough day yesterday. Couldn't really unlock the pace out of that car, but De Palo has been racing in FR cars in Europe and the Middle East this season. And Rashid Al-Daheri here has been in F4, both in the UAE and Italy in the Euro 4 Championship. So he makes the step up to this car, even though he raced here last year.
3rd in a Formula 4 piece of machinery. Let's see what they can do. He can do in an FR car.
Jin Nakamura's car repaired overnight after being Whartoned. He got fired into the barrier at the R Bend by slightly overzealous James Wharton. So Jin Nakamura then lining up 12th on the grid, and their 13th is the MP Motorsport car of Matteo Colnaghi, who has been the runner-up in the Spanish F4 Championship this year, so makes the step to these cars for the first time, and of course this track for the first time as well.
some really young drivers represented down on the grid from 16 years upwards. And if you think about a young driver on the start of their single-seater career, 16 years of age, to tame the gear circuit at Macau, that's something special. And of course, they have been around this circuit multiple times on simulators. There is nothing that compares to the bumps that you feel inside the cockpit of an FR car around Macau.
Dino Beganovic you're looking at, just for James Wharton, the runner-up in FR Europe. Dino Beganovic for the Ferrari Driver Academy, 6th in FIA Formula 3 this year with a couple of race wins. But in these sorts of cars 2 years ago, he was the European champion. So you know, he perhaps felt that last year's Grand Prix got away. He comes back, he steps down to a degree into Formula Regional machinery, to FR, but he wants to win. And that's true of lots and lots of drivers that come back, switch categories, go sideways because they want to race at Macau and they want to win at Macau.
Such a busy grid, isn't it, as the personnel are invited to make their way back into the paddock, and well, they'll be watching the race unfold over 10 laps around Macau. And you can see, as you look at the wide shot, of everybody leaving the grid apart from the few team members that are involved in the starting of the car, and the packed grandstands as well. I'm sure they will have one eye to the sky, as we do. It's very, very hot. It's not quite as humid as it was yesterday, up to 98% humidity yesterday. We're down in the 80s today. It's jolly warm and there is a threatening sky.
So the grid is being cleared, and that means that when the personnel have gone, these cars, these drivers will be left on their own, with Ugo Ogachukwu on pole position and Oliver Goethe lining up second, ahead of Noel Leon and his teammate Enzo Deligny. It is Murray Boyer next, ahead of Cooper Webster, then Freddie Slater and Théophile Néal. Evan Gilter and Matteo De Palo come next from Rashid Al-Daheri and Jin Nakamura, starting 12th, ahead of Mattia Kolnagi, and then with his grid drop, James Wharton, then Dino Beganovic, and the top 16 rounded out by Valerio Rinicella. Alexander Abkhazova comes next, ahead of Alex Dunn, who should be one to watch with pace, but he was unlucky to be involved in a crash yesterday. Came across a parked car, then Sota Agar and Turka Tapanen, who is a FR champion, but a long way back after crashing in qualifying yesterday himself. Thiago Rodriguez was here in F4. Lou Rushi crashed on Thursday. He's ahead of Rakuta Kobayashi and Jet Bauer. Had a crash at the end of yesterday's session. Sato, Kai Darianani and Kanato Lee round out the order. Sky is not a nice car.
It's looking threatening, isn't it? Very threatening. It's been jolly windy over the past few days here at Macau as well. The flags just fluttering gently, so that's good news as far as the wind is concerned. But those little drops of rain that we were given notification on the timing screen before the cars left pit lane, they are going to be in the back of their minds throughout this race.
And race control will be keeping an eye to this. They will be fully aware that everybody's tires, and they'll be fully aware that there's a tipping point between going slowly on a greasy track and being unsafe on a wet, and therefore they have to intervene. So we will have the 1-minute board shown shortly, the point at which engines fire, the last engineers leave the grid, and then make their way down the pit lane. So that pretty much it is out of their hands unless we have an incident. Now, Ugo Ogachukwu there, the man on pole position, who was last year's Euro 4 champion, pan-European German-Italian F4 championship, and you see the McLaren logo on the side of the car of the junior program. 11th in the FR European Championship this year for the Alpine powered cars. It does prove, doesn't it, on a shootout on a playing field like which is such a leveler. It doesn't really matter what your season's results are or what reputation you come with, it can be made or broken here at Macau.
It is a sheet of paper. It is a unique race. It requires unique skills over the course of 4 days for the Macau Grand Prix. But you can absolutely bet with a shadow of doubt that the sport eyes of the world are focusing on Macau this weekend. Whatever they're involved with, whatever the various personnel involved with motorsport are, if they are at Grand Prix, a Formula 1 Grand Prix, if they're involved in touring cars, if they're involved in GT racing, watching these races. Over the year, whether it has been from its days in sport cars through Formula Atlantic to Formula 3 to Formula 4 and the chassis this year, doesn't matter what category, to win here, to be on the podium here, is quite something. And every year, reputations are made, heroes around, and there'll be some more over the course of these 10 laps and tomorrow's Grand Prix itself, with
the grid now, just about here. Down into the pit lane. Nobody is yet betting about getting a set of wet tyres on standby, so I think we're fairly confident. But it might be a wet walk to the Myriad Hotels near the gear circuit. 1 minute board shown.
Would be really good news if we can have a dry run for the qualification race. It will be the rehearsal for the Grand Prix tomorrow, and very soon the cars are going to be released on their formation lap here around the streets of Macau.
Lights go green flag shown, and 1 or 2 a little bit slow away there. So one side of the grid not getting away. That's behind Noel Leon, isn't it? Now, if everybody goes past him, he'll have to start at the back. And there's another car. No, Leon, it's Murray Boyer, forgive me. So Murray Boyer has not got going, but others I think might have been up behind. Have they all got going behind on that row? Yes. If the last car passes Boyer before he moves, starts at the back of the grid, it may be that he can't start and needs the marshal to push him off the grid. There you go. All that hard working qualifying, the importance of a good lap time, and it can all be thrown and get the car off the line. And rather than it be a breakage, it's all on him.
A third row starts, all of a sudden becomes a back of the field. If they can even get the car going, it might be some kind of problem with the car that has prevented the car from starting. That things didn't go according to plan inside the cockpit. This looks like some technical issue with the car, and the team rushing to Murray Boyer's car. What a shame.
I think the sort of slave battery that they might be trying to take and fight the car. The trouble is when it's hot and then they stall, it's not an instant restart. It's a good half a minute plus, so it can, if you like, cool down and then go again. So it's fine now, but Murray Boyer should, in theory, start at the back of the grid.
A potential promotion for Freddie Slater, who started just behind. He's got a black tarmac in front of him. Has got going now, which is good news. Needs to press on and catch up to the rest of the field, so that's good news. Boyer's car has started, and one to watch during this race.
Not only, he's also got to press on to catch up with everybody else, because we don't want to be waiting for a long period of time before Murray Boyer arrives on the grid. So he will be pressing. The team will be on video to him, advising him of what the start process is for him. The former Spanish karting champion. He was for the team in Formula 3 this year, 15th in the championship, but did race in FR at the start of the season. 5th in last year's FR Middle East Championship as well. So that is very active during winter, keeping his hand in. The FR East Championship has been a popular one in recent seasons. The cars then now turn their way through that long left Santa Maria. Down they go now to the hairpin. There is a permanent flag, no and the reason for that is very easy to see. It is the tightest of tight corners, look, and so there is no way you could think about going side by side round the corner and trickle their way, still trying to get the wall in the Pirelli tires, and then they'll slot in place on one by one staggered grid, position being on the outside line. And that's where this man, the very tall Ugo Chukwu, will start, with lining up in Leon, then Enzo Delini, and then a gap where the car of Murray Boyer should have been.
It's getting dark here at Macau. Looking out to the box just in front of the commentary box, as the cars wait on a dry circuit to get into slick racing times. This, you know, it has got a much darker in the last 10 minutes or so.
And let's have a look at the rear of this to see where Boyer is. He's overtaking. I'm not sure that's what he's to be doing. I would drive through might be coming for Boyer here, because at the start, if you're overtaken by the very last car, you should start at the back, and control will be looking at that, I'm sure. He's going to come to the pit lane.
Into pit lane.
Fair. So Boyer pits, and wanting to make sure he's at the pit exit line in plenty of time. Boyer will start from pit lane, and that now means we are awaiting the front of the grid. History is about to be made, only, in quotes, the qualifying race, but it is the first FR chassis has raced it now. So Murray Boyer comes down pit lane, the rest of the pack into The last car, therefore, that we will await is that of Kanato Lee. And when he arrives into position, everybody else will be ready and waiting. The drivers will wait for the 5-second board and then for the lights to go red when the lights are extinguished. The qualifying race for the FIA World Cup Grand Prix will be underway. Ugo Chukwu on pole position, Oliver Goethe with him at the front, flag at the back, we're ready to go. And 5 red lights on now. When the lights go out, it is going to be blast off. Good get by Ugo, good by Leon as well as they make the run towards Reservoir the first time. Inside, tries to squeeze alongside Ugo Chukwu for the race lead. He is alongside, just possibly fractionally ahead as they come down towards Mandarin for the first time. Leon in 3rd place, looking to move in the turn. Goethe has got in the other Red Bull car right up behind him. Freddie Slater is in the mix. One wide, one wall. Yellows fly. Car is in the middle of the road. Kicked off at turn 2, and we are going to have an interruption for sure. Will the race be as they get to Lisboa? It is Ugo Chukwu. He breaks fractionally late. So it Goethe second and Leon third.
The random street through Lisboa. It is Ugo Chukwu that has bent off the attentions of Goethe and have stricken cars that will need to be tended to. The course vehicle coming. One driver out on the left-hand side of your picture. Identify those cars in a couple of moments. Meanwhile, our race leader, despite having to battle very, very hard on the line with Oliver Goethe for a moment, who's in front. Ugo Chukwu got the best of Lisboa and is now able to pull out a bit of a gap over 2nd place Oliver Goethe.
We're awaiting news as to whether or not the race is going to happen. At the moment, it's still green flag down the circuit. You saw car off, rather broken and vacated by the driver. Another one parked up against the wall as well as Ugo Chukwu then tries to make good his escape over Oliver Goethe in 2nd place. In 3rd is Leon, and then Enzo Deligny back. They make their way up towards for the 3rd time. Good first lap this though on cold tyres by Ugo Chukwu, and he's clear as we go. Safety car. The safety car will pick him up at the end of the opening lap of the race.
Yeah, as they thread away on the lower point on the circuit around the very, very complete turn on themselves at the Melco hairpin, and then on the route down. Let's have a look back, in fact, at what happened after the start of the race. See Ugo bringing the field into play.
So you can see in the background just traction slides wide, crippled as he comes across the road, and surprisingly we didn't lose. He could have done. One car very, very, very fortunate to avoid all the mayhem.
Good job done on avoiding. It's very much the name of the game. Yeah, big bash there coming out of the very quick corner. And quite a bit of debris splattered onto the circuit as well. Some from Tappanen's car.
Down towards Mandarin he goes, and bang of him, and Tappanen in the wall as well. So he got caught out, I think, by the pace of the car ahead. So that is one of the fancy drivers of the weekend. Took Tappanen out on the way down to Lisboa. Tappanen has gone, and he's not the only one. We
were on board with Tappanen yesterday when the wall was hit. We can do the same again today. So disappointing for a very, very quick driver. And Tappanen, unfortunately, with yet more damage on that FR car. Team are going to be busy once again overnight, are they not?
Yeah. I think the other one we lost, sorry to interrupt you, was Soto Ogawa. That's the other driver that's not, as far as I can work out, gone through the first sector. And the car's being told to keep in the middle of the road as they come through turn 2 to avoid all the debris and all the marshals and all the track work that is going on. So, big hit. Let's have another look. Leaders come through. You can see cold tyres on the limit. Ogawa ploughs into the wall. And Tappanen, we didn't really see from that shot, but he was following the pace of the car ahead, and he ran wide as well. But that's a very broken FR chassis, that Tattoo chassis of Ogawa. Here it is. Wait for the bang. Wallop. And in goes Tappanen behind him. It's quite fortunate. More well wiped out on the inside of the road there. On board with Tappanen. Let's listen in. Sickening noise, isn't it? So as Tappenden, I think, as I said earlier, was judging his pace against the car ahead, that was wrong. He was always going to be wrong. 2 gone. Turn 2.
And it happens in a split second. When you ride on board and you see it all unfold, you realise just how quickly the dream is over here at Macau.
So they will all slot in behind the safety car. These laps all count, of course, for the purposes of the Grand Prix, for the purposes of the qualifying race. They all count within the 10, so the race remains live, albeit under controlled conditions. And it's not so much clearing cars out of the way, that's easy. Hook, crane, move. It's getting all the liquid soaked up, isn't it, and any debris out of the way.
How quickly they are deployed into action, though. The marshals around the circuit, there'll be hundreds of them around the 6.1 kilometre gear circuit, and they know exactly what they need to do. They immediately go into action to get the circuit ready to get things back underway, and they are working away industriously, and the rest of the field are going to have to be thinking about keeping the heat in the tyres on the parts of the circuit that they are able to get a bit of heat weaved into the Pirelli rubber as they make their way around the final part of the tight and twisty section of the gear circuit here at Macau, under the control of the BMW safety car. Only 1 lap so far complete with the requirement of the safety car to be deployed. We just had the GT3 race, qualification race here at Macau, and it was a unique event, if you like, because with so many very big and powerful GT3 cars, we ran from lights to flag without interruption, which was just such a joy for the drivers and for the spectators as well, because they were able to get into a groove. But it's when you have a race which has interruptions, the ultimate concentration that the drivers have to maintain is really important to test. It was tested yesterday in qualifying, and straight away in the qualification race it is brought into play once again.
There are more junior single-seater categories around these days, and at an equivalent level as well. So these drivers, as we've touched on, have been busy in the winter months racing in similar chassis. They have full-time summer programs as well. But you're starting with drivers, of course, at a much younger age. We often talk about 15, 16-year-olds or junior single-seater categories that there never were in the early days of a Formula 3 Grand Prix at Macau. So although the circuits remain the same and we're looking at cars of a comparable level, you're looking at drivers that, even though they have done a lot of racing, are a little bit younger than the grid would have been, let's say, 20, 25 years ago.
It's true, and if the budget allows, with racing the way it is globally nowadays, you see drivers in the seat of a race car every weekend. When you're going through the results of FR championships around the world, you can see that drivers have been competing in Asia, in Europe, and all around the world.
So we're still behind the safety car for one last look, I think, from the drivers at the incident zone, so they can just assess where the speedy drive might be, and they'll be good to go pretty shortly. And we can have another look at the start. Good getaway by Uga Chukwu, and Oliver Goethe did his level best to get up alongside him. Couldn't quite get his nose in front, could be the other side of Mandarin. Almost a bit of wheel banging at the back, but Uga Chukwu around the outside of Reservoir, then had the inside line for the next corner heading down towards Mandarin. Noah Leon in third. You also get an idea of just how bumpy the circuit is. It's wide, it's open, it's fast. In the background, there's the impact. The bodywork flies, the yellow flag that it was waving even before the car hit the wall. And that was Ogawa out of the race. The safety car will be in this lap, by the way. We'll go back racing this time. This is Dino Boganovic's view of the start here. Lights out, blast off, good launch. Slightly better than the car ahead of him, Mattia Colnaghi, so he closes up there on the Italian, gets up the inside as well, sits on the back of James Walton as they turn their way through that left of Reservoir. So Boganovic has already gained 1 place. Foot absolutely nailed to the boards at this point. As a lift, as he ducks up the inside of Walton there. That puts him on the inside for Lisboa, and it all gets a bit crowded ahead of him. Can't make a move there because there's traffic in the way. Now there's a corner coming up. See if you can spot it. Barrier to the right, barrier to the right, barrier to the right. There it is. And they all crowd and funnel their way through that right hand that almost comes up unexpected. You know it's there somewhere, but you just can't judge it because the barriers are so high and you sit so low in the car.
That's a great view of what a good start he got as well, but just no opportunities. The circuit didn't open up and present any more than one place to be made up after a very good start. This is on board with Alex Dunn, who was so very impressive here at Macau last year. He finished second, I think, in this race, the equivalent race last year in the qualification race.
And in fact, on the outside there, on the left, you just saw Ogawa come steaming up to try and go round him, and then the car got sideways, so he was probably having a bit of an optimistic go to get past Dunn and carried too much speed into the corner. Dunn on the inside, look, getting crowded up the curb as well, and just about makes it through.
That was a squeeze, wasn't it, on the run down towards Lisboa. And as I said earlier on, it's not just skill that you need at Macau, you also need a little sprinkling of luck as well.
The climb up San Francisco Hill, but to the outside. Now that's brave, having a go there, and has Dunn done it? He has, just about. He's got the inside line for the next corner. Fair play. Wow. Alex Dunn going ahead of Matthew Colnaghi, and boy, did he deserve that. That
was a squeeze, wasn't it? And you had to maintain your line and your courage as well, and he did exactly that. Superb, absolutely superb.
So we're going to go racing this time, Alan. Ugo Ugachukwu, Oliver Goethe, Noah Leon, your top three. And you saw off the standing start the importance of getting a good run all the way from the timing line to make the move, to be in the wheel tracks, to get a toe on the way to Lisboa. And it happened again here. But look, Ugachukwu has absolutely bolted coming out of Fisherman's, and that's bad news for Goethe.
Weaving the car so early and right up to the last minute as well, getting heat into the tyres. Ugo Ugachukwu gets the race back underway and carries across the line. The green flag waves, and already with a little bit of a gap over Oliver Goethe. So here we go, racing again around the streets of Macau. It's Ugo Ugachukwu that leads.
Black flag for Mari Boyer, so he is being black flagged from the race for what he did on the formation lap after installing. So Mari Boyer's travails continue as Ugachukwu comes towards us. It's going to be on for third place, the battle, isn't it? Leon versus Delaney versus Freddie Slater, who was in the F4 race last year, but Goethe, using the toe a little bit, is catching up to the race leader as they drop down towards us. James Wharton is being given a 10-second stop-go penalty as well as the cars funnel their way there through Lisboa. So Ugachukwu leading Goethe, the gap down a little bit. You're on board with Dino Beganovic. That means you're 12th. Absolute best in the first sector. Beganovic hunting down Rashid Al-Daheri ahead of him.
Twisting their way through this very demanding up and down section, left and right, the barriers, the walls, everything you have to contend with on the gear circuit here at Macau, and they funnel through. The good news is that we seem to have got away without a problem after the restart. Ugo Ugachukwu, meanwhile, got the best of the starts.
He led over the line by nearly a full second, so Goethe had to try to claw back some of that with a toe in the first part of the lap. 5 sectors to this lap, but Ugachukwu getting away. Absolute best sector 2 and sector 3. So Goethe, Leon, tiny gap back to Delaney, Slater, and then Cooper Webster 6. That's the order.
Police and Moorish, tricky right-handers, one after another on this high section of the circuit. Onto the long left-hander at Donna Maria. Through they go, threading their way up towards the no overtaking point at the Melco hairpin. You can see the LED panel flashing green. After that point, yep, overtaking allowed once again. And a good exit from the Melco hairpin sets you up for a good run down towards the end of one lap and the start of the next. So many overtaking manoeuvres are started at the exit of the Melco hairpin.
Absolutely right, and a bit of tyre screen even as the drivers push on, coming out of Fisherman's down towards our bend. This is going to be the end of lap number 4, and we've had a change. In fact, 4-6 place, Tiafan Nayo getting himself up past Guzman Webster. Now, last time the lead gap was 9/10 of a second, Ugachukwu to Goethe. Ugachukwu has extended it to 1.3 with a new best lap of the race, so the American is looking very strong up front. Third is Leon. Fourth is Delaney, and then Freddie Slater in 5th place. But Ugachukwu now, I think, has just about broken Goethe, hasn't he? He's getting away, building that gap as they come through the right-hander of Mandarin. Slippery surface flag out in the background, and let's just see whether Slater can make a move against Delaney. Look back, red and white car Slater, there to the outside of the Red Bull liveried car of Enzo Delaney, who tries to cover off the inside line, and Slater not able to duck up the inside of him.
Slots in behind, around the right-hander at Lisboa they go. Very quickly they'll be to the bottom of San Francisco Hill. That's where they are now. accelerating up the hill. You can see the undulation there. It's quite a climb, this, as they go up San Francisco Hill. And then they have to deal with the tight, twisty section of Maternity, the right-hander, the left-hander down at Teddy Yip, with the wall on the left-hand side, and then into the change of direction, one after another of the Solitude S's.
Slater looking much quicker now than Delaney as he tries to find a way by. He needs to try and force a mistake out of the car ahead of him. But Uga Chukwu, in the meantime, is continuing to build the gap, isn't he? Well, he was, although maybe on this lap in Sector 2, it has come down ever so slightly in Sector 1, just marginally quicker was Goethe, but then it's normality restored in Sector 3, because that is where Uga Chukwu falls away. This is for second place. Goethe taking Noel Leon with him, but they need to stop thinking about each other, really, and try and get onto the back of that car. If they can close on the run toward the end of the lap and therefore be able to challenge at the start of the next, it could be a whole different story.
I was thinking exactly that. Oliver Goethe has got a bit of a deficit to make up to Uga Chukwu in the lead of the race, but also keep an eye to the mirrors as well, with Noel Leon right there in his wheel tracks. And in response to that, in Sector 4, Oliver Goethe has put in an overall best sector. So going quickest in Sector 4 is the second place car of Oliver Goethe. Let's see what the gap is going to be at the end of this lap between first and second. Uga Chukwu had the fastest lap of the race. Will he do so again? It was a 2:21.7. Up towards the line comes the race leader, and what's the advantage going to be? It was 1.3 seconds between first and second. It's down to 0.7 of a second with a fastest lap for number one, second place Oliver Goethe.
So that now puts him in a really good position to have a go on the run down towards Lisboa. He's got away from Noel Leon, so the gap second to third is extended. That means Goethe can concentrate on the attack, not the defence. Another little battle lower down. You can see there as Evan Gilter comes up to have a go at Matteo De Palo. That is for 8th and 9th, and a bit of a quiver under braking from Uga Chukwu. Goethe right there behind him. Was that enough to force it wide? Slater goes deep into the corner as well. They're all braking later. That is Niall going straight on as well from 6th place. Cooper Webster goes back ahead of him. Another one up the escape road. This is Alex Dunn's view. Cars from the left, cars from the right. He's going to be able to hang on to one place just about, but it all got very busy ahead as Teofil Niall rejoined ahead of him. But did Uga Chukwu go a little bit deep into Lisboa? The answer is no. He's survived, he's still in the lead, although Goethe is still hunting him down.
The gap was brought down to 0.7 of a second. The escape road at Lisboa has been rather busy on this lap, has it not, as they get themselves back onto the circuit. And that was good anticipatory driving by Alex Dunn, with the car rejoining and just thinking, OK, we need to stay out of trouble. Let's not think about this too much. Just make sure we've got enough tarmac to ourselves.
But oddly, Uga Chukwu has just vanished up the road now, having thought for a moment he might have gone a bit deep into turn 3, Lisboa. He's built the gap quite markedly, it seems, over the rest of the lap from Goethe. Still third is Leon, but Slater is up to 4th then, so he did get past Deligny out of shot. Deligny's down to 5th. So Slater is there in 3rd, and we've got a yellow flag still within turn 3, apparently. We saw one car rejoining, but timing screen still saying a yellow flag. Driver trudging away. They'll try and unravel in a moment who it is as the cars come out of Melco now.
It gets darker and darker here at Macau. It's 4 in the afternoon. It's the qualification race for the Macau Grand Prix of 2024, and we get a safety car intervention for the second time in this qualification race.
And I think it might be Colnaghi that we have lost. So Mattia Colnaghi is off. I think I'm right in saying it's Colnaghi, but it's at Lisboa. And so our second safety car intervention of the race, and we are on lap number 6 here. So obviously the officials don't want too many laps under the safety car, but it is a long lap, so the race can be neutralised to get the car out of the way. I'm noticing umbrellas going up once more in the grandstand, and I'm noticing people thinking, maybe I might just go indoors now. So maybe the spots of rain are coming. You've been teeing them up. They might be on their way as the safety car awaits. So the race leaders in the background weaving around. To tell you what, on the restart, Oliver Goethe had better not fall for the same stunt, had he, and be caught napping like he was first time around. Let's ride with Alex Dunn down to Lisboa. We saw the end of Teofil Niall's dramas and how he pulled back out in front and how it all got very busy. But this is all the way from the start of the lap. So you're on board with Dunn. He's in the wheel tracks here, looking to try to get the run, get a tow past the old race control building, down through Mandarin to the outside line, edging closer to the traffic ahead. hard on the brakes. His car quivers under braking now. Have a look at the escape road, because here comes TFR Nail back in front of him, and cars have to scatter, and the one to the right was the one that had to just lift, and Dunn was able to nip round the outside. Tell you what, we've seen it twice in this race. If there's a more opportunistic driver than Alex Dunn, I've not found him yet.
Yeah, that was really, really good stuff on board with Alex Dunn. What a treat this was, as we saw Ugo Chukwu and Oliver Goethe going down into Lisboa and getting a real wiggle on it as well, turning into the right-hander.
Nail was nailed, wasn't he? He got hit by Cooper Webster. That's why he went up the escape road. Webster braked a fraction too late, got under the gearbox, and that's what dislodged TFR Nail to send him up the escape road. And
just looking at the overview, we were on board with Alex Dunn on that very, very breathe-in moment down at Lisboa. That was something else.
Wipers are on the safety car.
Yeah.
So it is starting to spit with rain. The wipers are on the safety car now, and they're all on slick tyres, don't forget. So tiptoeing their way, I think it's the mountain section of the circuit, if you like, the back part that's got wet first, but there are more than just a few umbrellas in the grandstand. Those that have a brolly have got the brollies up. Those that haven't, they're heading for home. They're heading for Sanctuary.
They've been giving out free ponchos. I hope they've got plenty in stock, because we now have a race suspension. With the rain coming down, we go into a red flag period, and it's properly wet now, I'm afraid, and therefore, safety being absolutely of paramount importance around the streets of Macau. The race is suspended, and slick tyres are potentially not going to be the order of the day. So they thread their way around, being very, very careful with a circuit which has been dry pretty much all day. And now with the ponchos and the umbrellas up, it's a rather testing situation for the drivers and for the teams as well. But I hate to tell you, I told you so, it has been getting progressively darker since the cars formed up on the grid, and with that notification which came when the cars were released from pit lane that we had maybe a couple of drops of rain in the air, I think this was always going to happen.
You might think to yourself, well, it's not that wet, and surely it's up to the driver to decide if he wants to tiptoe round and think it's a passing shower or come in for wets. Well, yeah, that's one side of the coin, but this is a circuit like no other. It's fast, and it's, as we've seen over the weekend, got plenty of parts of it that can really bite. So when you're talking about really young drivers, it doesn't probably make sense to take that decision away, as in, we're going to neutralise the race, you'll all go into the pit lane. Now, at this point, if you want to change, you can, but we're at least going to give you the chance. That's, I think, the rationale behind it.
You can't take the risk, can you? We've talked about these young drivers. So many of them have never experienced the gear circuit at Macau. We have seen so many times, not just this year, but over pretty much every year of the Macau Grand Prix, the gear circuit here at Macau can bite. And in these conditions, it can bite really hard indeed. So with 4 laps to go in this qualification race for the FR cars, decision taken, neutralise the race, suspend the race, and give the option to change onto a different tyre. We don't know how wet it is around the circuit. We can certainly look in real life, in real time, out of the commentary box window and see everyone in hospitality just below us in the grandstand with umbrellas up.
In the pit lane, mechanics don't look overly concerned. They are languidly getting parts ready, but they're not rushing in and out of garages as though they want to shelter from the rain. So there is rain in the air, but I don't think it's hit this part of the circuit quite as much as it had around the rear of the circuit, up on the run from San Francisco Hill, for example.
It's been a very hot and humid day. They'd be welcome of being cooled down a little bit in pit lane, because it has been a very, very warm day indeed. The
interest now is going to be exactly what level of rain we get around the circuit, because it could be that by the time they bolted wets on, it's passed, and actually you could have got away with slicks anyway, or some people may elect to stay on slicks. The driver will have an idea of what it was like up the back part of the circuit. They've all got an idea of what it's like here, but that to me looks like a dry pit lane.
It does, and then we look out of the window and the tarmac is two different colours outside the commentary box on the start-finish line. It is two different colours of tarmac, but certainly close to the pit wall, it does look greasy. It does look like it's got a bit of a sheen on it as you look out of the window. So now a choice is about to be made down in pit lane. Tyres are being brought out, they are just being laid next to the cars, and no decision ultimately being made at this stage down in pit lane. But one thing is for sure, those dry weather tyres are losing temperature. They will lose temperature very quickly as they sit motionless down in pit lane. Umbrellas, teams, that's the order of the day as the cars arrive, and a little bit of time is required to make a decision. What do we do?
Well, having just been outside, the race is going to resume in 10 minutes. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the lightest and 10 being the most, I would say half. It's a few almost inconsequential spots. Heavy spots, but spots. Not saying it's not worse around the back of the circuit, but honestly, if you're sitting in the pit lane now, you'd be hard-pressed to think, yeah, I've got to go wet.
The point I was just highlighting really is that immediately the cars come to a stop, those sticky Pirellis start losing temperature, and they will do so very quickly as well.
So it's a bit wet down through Lisboa and San Francisco, that section of the circuit. That is wet down at Lisboa. Now that, I can offer you this via Strava. That's about 2 kilometres away from where we are, Alan. So if that. So it shows you how patchy the rain is, doesn't it? It's almost dry here. The chap in front of me just put his umbrella away. So it's wet down at Lisboa, and we certainly saw it wet up the hill. What do you do? On a circuit like this, you don't want to put yourself in the wall, do you?
On the run down towards Lisboa, that looked really greasy, really slippery. Coming up San Francisco Hill as well. That's not nice.
No, but
on a slick tyre, not nice.
The bigger problem is, where you want to slick, the bigger problem is going to be braking for Lisboa. Because up the hill there, you can just defend. People aren't really going to try and get past you. You might be able to tiptoe up the hill, and then the lap improves. But it's going from a high speed on a slick into that wet zone at Lisboa that will be the big problem. The rest of the lap you could probably get away with, probably.
They have a few minutes to decide exactly what to do, and for the first time now we see decisions being made. So a change of tyres for Noel Leon, and they would have potentially, they've got a big screen down in pit lane, so they would have got a chance to see our camera angles around the circuit of just how wet it was going into Lisboa.
And they've all been told wet tyres are mandatory. You're not having a choice, we want you all on wet. We're not having a situation, think race control, where you heroes on slicks put it in the wall and we have yet more accidents. You're going on wet, come what may. I think they'll struggle to, well, they're only going to have 3 laps, aren't they? 2 laps maybe. If it were much longer than that, they'd probably overheat quite markedly. But for the sake of a safety car lap and maybe 2 racing laps, go on wet, you'll be fine.
Yeah, the safest option really, and having seen the level of slipperiness on the run down towards Lisboa, potentially that's a very, very safe idea coming from race control. Put the treaded tyres on and send them out for the conclusion of this qualification race. The heroes are going to be potentially made tomorrow for the Macau Grand Prix. Heroes won't necessarily be made in the qualification race. However, you could spoil every chance you've got in the qualification race today. So let's put the treaded tyres on. I didn't have this in the potential notebook for this afternoon to have rain at the end of the day. The motorcycles turned their first wheels this morning here at Macau. They dealt with a drying circuit. It was just a little bit damp when they went out for pre-practice first thing this morning. They had back-to-back free practice and qualifying, and they were able to complete their qualifying session in the dry. So for the first time today now, we have rain around the streets of Macau.
And for them, better it happens now than in 12 hours' time. So at least, hopefully, if it does pass through, the track will dry. So everybody being given the instruction to go onto wets. No argument about that. The drivers, in some cases, just out of the car, stretching their legs a little bit. So race control, the race director, Rui Marquez, Jeanette Tam, his deputy, electing to tell everybody Well, they need to be on wet tyres. Race order then. Ugo Ugachukwu ahead of Oliver Goethe. And then Leon, Freddie Slater up to 4th, just before the interruption ahead of Enzo Dellini. Cooper Webster 6th, ahead of Matteo De Paolo. James Wharton 8th. Now, Wharton had a stop-go, which I don't think he's done. Rashid Al-Daheri 9th, and Evan Gilter rounding out the top 10. Dina Beganovic 11th, Teofil Nile 12th, Alexander Dunn, Alex Dunn 13th, Jin Nakamura 14th, Valerio Rinicella is in 15th place. My suggestion would be we'll be out of the pits and 1 lap behind the safety car, and I hope it's only 1 lap, because otherwise we're going to have very little racing other than maybe the last lap of the race.
This qualification race day here at Macau. This is the final on-track action of the day. We get things underway a little earlier than previously planned. There is a revised, on the Macau GP website, there is a revised timetable for tomorrow, because unusually we have the Motorcycle Grand Prix first thing tomorrow morning, warm-up and bikes racing out for the coveted title of winner of the Macau Grand Prix first thing this morning, and then all four-wheeled action for the rest of tomorrow. For now, this is the final on-track action of the day.
Drivers getting back on board, so Alex Dunn will clamber back on board the car and see what he can do for the resumption of the race then. So the race is suspended, to use the word rather than stopped. They'll carry on in the same order. Right, so effectively what we have is what you would under the safety car, just not going round and round in circles all the time. But the one difference is that you're being allowed to change tyres, indeed commanded to change tyres.
So pretty quick getting ready for back in the cockpit for Alex Dunn. This looks like quite a hasty process.
Yeah, make sure everything's right. His father Noel Dunn, Formula Ford racer and champion. Alex slots the crash helmet back on. It's interesting, isn't it? I mean, you make the point that some of them almost look to be in a bit of a rush, a bit of a hurry doing this. It kind of surprised they all jumped out of the cars, because it was never going to be a very long stoppage, was it?
No, I would agree with that, and this does look quite pacey. Normally they give themselves loads of time to get in the cockpit, get ready, get comfortable, get themselves in the zone. Single-seater drivers, young single-seater drivers, do that more than anyone else in racing. I can chat to touring car drivers right the way up until the 3-minute board down on the grid, and so too with GT drivers. Try and have a conversation with a single-seater driver within 10 minutes of the start of the race, and they just look beyond you. They they are in the zone. They are visualising. They've been taught to do it, visualising the start of the race, and getting a conversation out of them to break that concentration is very nearly impossible. So this...
But it's not a cultural thing, is it, in terms of the race culture? Touring cars, GT, being interviewed on the grid is quite something, but it's not a thing in junior single-seater ranks, really, so they're not used to it. They're not expecting it as much as anything. You're right, I mean, they are in the zone, but it's not something they ever have to expect.
I've tried it. I don't like being turned down, to be honest.
That is horrible,
boy, oh boy.
And I would rather suspect that's coming our way. So if it's coming from... It hasn't passed over our head, so it must be coming from the other direction towards us, and that's the way we walk at the end of the day back to hotels. So the fans at Lisboa bedraggled, and maybe it's going to be more than one safety car lap after all, just to let them get used to the conditions. So it would be one of those quirks of irony, wouldn't it, if we end up with the entire remainder of the race behind the safety car to the checkered flag, but let's hope it's not that case.
That could potentially be an option, you know, as the rain comes down ever heavier. That looks like a very, very difficult run. At least they are on the right tyres. Really good calls from race control as well. And you would imagine that they have access to the most advanced weather forecasting and radar signals of what's on its way here to the gear circuit at Macau. But with hindsight, really good call to make it mandatory to bolt on those brand new wet tyres.
But it does seem as though there's only that one sort of loop of the circuit, Lisboa, and if you sort of cut a section off the track, that's the wet bit and the rest is dry. So it's going to be interesting to see when we do go behind the safety car on the outlap exactly where else is wet and to what degree. Pretty
critical part of the circuit as well. It is the iconic overtaking position on the gear circuit of Macau. And very, very wet indeed, which they will discover when they are sent out from pit lane. Let's have a look at how the circuit is. So through Mandarin and on the run down towards Lisboa, it starts to get wet. And that is a very quick part of the circuit. They're about to find out just how wet it is. Fortunately, they have the right tyres for that part of the circuit, because that is quite a test.
That is serious rain, isn't it, heading down to Lisboa now? But here, it's barely doing anything. There are some umbrellas up, but yeah, that is heading our way. So it is going to be a very wet track before much longer. Right then, this wasn't in the plan, was it?
30 seconds until they are released behind the safety car from pit lane. Ugo Chukwu has done everything absolutely right so far. Now we have an extra element thrown in to the mix of the qualification race for the Macau Grand Prix. It's wet, it's dry, it's greasy, it's everything. No pressure there then.
But that pressure is diminished to a degree as long as you're behind the safety car. So Ugo Chukwu is probably quite happy just to follow that round for the remainder of the race. We go back to the safety car then as the race resumes. So safety car for an indeterminate number of laps. We have done 7, 3 laps to go. Please, let's not have 3 safety car laps and then a token finish to the checkered flag, because we do want to see some racing, don't we?
We would love to, and I'm sure the drivers would love to as well. This opportunity to race a powerful single-seater around the iconic streets of Macau is a gift for a driver. Dry here behind the BMW safety car as they weave those brand new Pirelli wets up to some kind of temperature for the first time, and then
look at that.
You go round the corner and the windscreen wipers, they're going to go on full mode, aren't they, very soon, because that is very wet indeed. There are cars down there, they are FR cars, but they are in a ball of spray. As you can see the view from the cockpit of Dino Boganovic's car, that is very, very wet indeed. And as they go into Lisboa, into the right-hander, well, they have the right tyres for the job.
They do, and there's a lot of rain there, admittedly, but it is one section of the circuit, and are we getting to a point in motorsport where we're saying we can't have a run in the rain? Let's hope not. Yeah, I know there's a lot of rain there. Of course, you're also not dealing with a regular track surface, you're dealing with public roads, so there are different types of tarmac there and different ages of the tarmac, which might also trick the situation. Yeah, it's slippery, but look at this up the hill. That's fine, bone dry. So like I say, you sort of cut that one loop off the circuit and the rest is okay. Or okayer.
Yeah, a little bit more okay. Still slippery, but as they twist their way up through the section, the tight and demanding section of the gear circuit here at Macau behind the safety car, they get to find that out firsthand now, and this is going to be a real test of these young drivers' skills, what to do and where to do it. But on the run down towards Lisboa from the very, very fast Mandarin, it is fully wet, very, very wet indeed. Once again, this view from Dino's car, and just working out where you can put the power down. And as you get higher and higher on the gear circuit at Macau, well, that's all right, isn't it?
Yeah. So here, it looks absolutely fine. So it may well be that, as I say, the rain is heading back towards the start line rather than just staying down at Lisboa, but we will wait and see what the race director elects to do. No sign yet the safety car will be in this time, but they're coming up towards Moorish. So this is lap 8 out of 10, remember.
Ugo Chukwu is making the most of every single opportunity to just get 1 or 2 weaves of the car to try and get those tyres up to an operating temperature, and that is experience that's coming into play for Ugo Chukwu, because of that section, the section of the circuit they've just been on, there is barely room to move the car from side to side to get heat into the tyres, but Ugo Chukwu making the most of every little tiny opportunity to do that.
So the safety car coming down through the Melco hairpin through Black Sands. Maybe race control would like it to go through once more. So at best, we're going to get 1 racing lap, at best. Because they're on lap 8, they're about to start lap 9. So 1 racing lap, seemingly, as the lights stay on top of the safety car. The race control officials will be in contact with Pedro Cuchero and his observer, who are in the safety car, saying what's it like, and he'll say it's really bad down at Lisboa, but it's all right the rest of the lap. So they'll give them maybe one more chance to have a look at it, see what it's like, and just get a feel for it at a slower pace before they are released back to staying on top of safety.
Yep, so another lap behind the W. And quite bizarre, the conditions around the circuit. Look into the grid hatchings as they go on to lap number 9. 8 laps will go in the book now for Ugo behind the safety car. And you see Vergerta in the background making the most of this dry part of the circuit to try and get temperature. Well, they are coming on towards the one little section of the circuit which is really properly wet.
But is this well, we'll find out because they come through. It doesn't look as bad, but it looks with the spray. It doesn't look as though it's raining quite so heavily. It just looks worse because the water and that part of the circuit is draining. That's the problem. But it's, yeah, there's no denying it's wet, but a lot of that's the spray rather than the rain.
And one thing you do have to do, wet tyres on a dry circuit, and quite a lot of the circuit does look to be pretty dry, is cool the tyres down. So it's a peculiar thing. This is the water will cool the tyres a little bit overwarm in race conditions. So small opportunity to cool an overheated wet tyre. They won't get the chance to do it over just one lap. Pretty sure we'll be racing at the end of this one. They've had 2 acclimatisation laps behind the scene.
Yes, because you think, well, if we were always the rest of the race behind the safety, waste the set of wets, what's the cost for the teams? Why go back and why call it? But because we could see how wet it was on cameras. Anyway, fingers crossed.
It's wet up here as well, isn't it?
Greasy, yeah, it's damp, but
it's wet than it was the previous lap.
Maybe you're right. Yeah. Drivers then with the Pirelli wets, jinking around, keeping the warmth in them, but the safety car brings them through to the end of lap number 9, and hopefully one more lap. My fear is they will carry on behind the safety car, it will peel in at the end of the last lap, and we'll have that token run to the checkered flag for all the cameras, but we do want a racing lap.
I think you might be right. We shall wait and see what instruction comes from race control thus far, and with the advantage of a little bit of hindsight, I think really good decisions have been made by race control in the run-up to the restart of this race to choose essentially for the teams and for the drivers that they will be on for the conditions. Well, I would hate to see it all backing down into the on the slick with the amount of water that's down there. That would not be well. So a wet tyre is the order of the day under the control of the BMW safety car towards the Melbourne hair. Looking down, looks absolutely dry.
The safety car would come, we would have been now. So it looks as though we are going to run to the end under the car, which makes me wonder why the cars were released, unless it's come as a bit more of a surprise that it was quite so bad. So the safety car comes now through Fisherman's.
And also, as you quite rightly said, race control in touch with the huge experience inside the BMW safety car. They're bringing back, they're feeding back exactly what it's like to be driving. It's one thing to be looking at what the tarmac looks like on the television screens, but when you're behind the wheel of a car, then you've got much better idea.
The last lap, still behind the safety car. So we have the result of crashes on the last corner when the safety car, as I suspect it might do, pulls in the check flag. It looks for television marketing to have a waving red. Largely seems to be why these things happen, but to go out and free safety car does rather curious for the race.
Teams watch on the pictures and the data to get down in pit lane, and as we follow the cars around this final lap for the qualification race for the Macau Grand Prix, first time we've got the FR car here at Macau, and they finished the qualification race in an unusual way. But this Macau Grand Prix weekend this year for 2024 has been unusual. It's been a very unusual collection of days of weather and challenges that out on the circuit. Coming here for 12 years. I've not remembered rain for a prolonged period. It's certainly been under the worry of very strong winds coming to Macau as well.
I would certainly say there's less water on the road than there was when the cars were released. The first lap, there was water sloshing.
Yeah.
That we couldn't have held on for half an hour. I know we've been watching cars in the pit lane for half an hour, but it would have eased perhaps and water dissipated. But anyway, we are where we are. The race control team made the decision. And Ugo Chukwu is the winner of the FIA FR World Cup qualifying race. No, bring them round at the gap, and the safety car will peel in. There'll be a checkered flag, but you've got a result.
Ugo Chukwu has driven an exceptional race. Let's discuss what's happened as the weather changed. He was doing everything he needed to do, controlling that gap over Oliver Goetze in second position. And as we watch the BMW leading Ugo, he was really impressed in a very difficult qualifying session yesterday, working out exactly what he had to do. He had to do it. He delivered yesterday in qualifying. And today he is delivering once again. The checker flag will in the order we see them heading through. Now police up to 4-ish and continued run towards the front of the circuit. Ugo has done absolutely everything that he has been required to do. Super work by Ugo Chukwu. The driver that is involved has been involved for some years now. McLaren private development programs, only 16 years of age. New York in the US, and with the supports of McLaren after his very impressive single-seater career.
So Ugo Chukwu then taking a race, a much disrupted race. What did we end up with? 2 safety cars, and then the red flag, and then a safety car to the end. And tell you what, if you have a supply car, you're guaranteed a lot of airtime, because that has been very busy today.
And it has done a super job of information to race control about conditions out on the as Ugo Chukwu is the field up and towards conclusion of the final lap qualification race behind the control of the BMW safety car. The was very quickly indeed BMW as it will pick off and allow the drivers to take the checkered flag for 10 laps complete in the qualification race from the FIA FR World Cup Macau Grand Prix.
Ugo Chukwu then from Oliver Goetze lay off B3 as make the run up towards the checkered flag. Ugo Chukwu coast across the line, have to accelerate because nobody can overtake him, and there is your ceremonial finish to the qualifying race. Some drivers were weaving around, getting warmth into the tyres, but never going to. That is the check flag to complete. That is the grid for the race, barring any penalty alone in the system. And for the RHGP team, Ugo Chukwu, then the race. So he was able to control the first restart by charging ahead of that one, was able to just coast to the line, but equally he knew that he could make a move again, but he didn't have to press the car. He could just take his time and bring the cars through safe and sound.
Everything right yesterday in qualifying, done everything right today in the qualifying race, and Ugo Chukwu takes the first bit of Macau history, puts himself down as a winner around the street of Macau, albeit not yet a Grand Prix winner around the streets of Macau. The very unusual streets of Macau, part wet, part dry. It's with racing now complete, what will have tomorrow. What we begin to start to think about here. Normally it's a ball hot, warm, dry, sticky conditions at Macau. This year in 2024 it has been a completely unpredictable for the weather, but Ugo Chukwu takes his little bits of Macau history.
And in fairness to him, I know he didn't have to do all that many racing, but he didn't make a mistake, did he? He knew what he had to do and when he had to do it, and so Ugo Chukwu coping with everything that was thrown at him. A very impressive safety car restart bit. Ignore the but by dropping back and then accelerating very, he was able to catch napping, and that meant that he deprived Goethe of that to be able to attack the one section of the lap, as we saw the first lap of the race, where you can make it. Well pleased with that. Yeah. Okay, new to the circuit, new to the car for the Grand Prix. Yeah. Much of that, though, was down to what happened in qualifying, which, as we had been talking about yesterday, was a lottery in itself.
That was really hard work yesterday. With so many interruptions, when they tried to do so, they had to turn it on, and Ugo Chukwu did so at the pitch of a, and he has provided exactly the same professional today, and has paid off. A race winner at Macau, down from the Melco hairpin through black sand. There's the driest part of the circuit and runs down towards the entry to pit lane, end of the slowdown lap, and the marshals have all worked very hard over the course of 3 days here at Macau, and no doubt they will have a busy day tomorrow, racing all the way from first. We get the added bonus of seeing motorcycles compete for the Macau Grand Prix on race day here at Macau tomorrow,
which is something unusual, isn't it? Good to see. Let's hope we don't have any overnight race, because we've had so much in the last few days, and it's thrown the table up in smoke. It's probably giving people quite a lot of as well in terms of the content timetable and how you structure it all, because you learn at Macau new things that crop up to test you, and that will be sure by the Macau well.
Pit lane they come, the three funneled off to the hand side and will head over towards the Parc Ferme area. And, then we have the build up towards the podium presentation qualification race with stars and trophies to be presented, and Chukwu can tick off one of 3 boxes for the weekend. Pole for qualifying race, top step of the podium. Top 3 to Parc Ferme, and we'll see in a moment the very, very tall American driver getting out of the race winning car.
And then the very dry final part of the circuit. Odd, isn't it? Because we're actually told spots of rain at turn 21 towards the end of the lap, but it was all down at turn 3 spur where it hit. Ugo Chukwu the winner from Goethe and Leon. 4th, Freddie Slater from Enzo Deligny and Cooper Webster. Matteo De Palo 7th, James Wharton 8th. Now I don't think he ever stopped the penalty, so that's probably a discussion. She 9th, Evan Gilter in 10th. Then Dino Beganovic in 11th, Alex Dunn, Jin Nakamura, and in 15th place Valerio Rinicelli. After there was Rintaro Sato and Thiago Rodriguez, and you can see that long line didn't make the end of the race. Alexander Kazava being the driver who came last across the line. So, Macau is quiet and will be so for about an hour and 10 minutes before traffic starts to flow. There is Ugo Chukwu's car. The very tall American driver will be a lighted race winner. Puts him in pole position for the main race tomorrow, and it also means that he will now control the. But I think Oliver Goethe will be even more feisty when we go to the light tomorrow in the race underway. So is for the podium. They'll be making their way towards it. They'll be making their way from Parc Ferme scrutineering area. Through the paddock, up to the podium. Photographers assemble on the photographer's gantry at the foot of the podium, just next to that particular race control building. Podium just hidden behind it, and the podium at the moment has the television, which will be made in the podium backdrop very shortly. The team in the pit lane, Ace GP, good track record, junior single-seater racing over many, many years, all smiles once again. Great shot, I suspect there, but he wasn't given another chance to go race. Goethe on Thursday, actually quite a lot of what happened in terms of times order was pit lane. A few laps did you get? So the backdrop for the podium has now been made ready. That was the giant television screen a moment ago for the fans in the grandstand, and I think we're ready with the drivers and our dignitaries to go to the podium itself.
Of the Macau Grand Prix FIA FR World Cup qualifying race. First of all, let's welcome the winner drivers to the podium. On second runner-up, number 7, Noel Leon from Mexico. On first runner-up, number 1, Oliver Gotha from Germany. And the winner is number 4, Ugo Chukwu from the USA. Congratulations. And now I would like to invite Mr. Luis Gomes, President of Sports Bureau and coordinator of the Macau Grand Prix Organizing Committee, to present the laurel to the winner drivers. So to our second runner-up, congratulations to Noel. And to our first runner-up, Oliver. And of course, to the winner, Ugo from the USA. Thank you, Mr. Gomes. And now, I would like to invite Mr. Ko Hai-in, President of the Legislative Assembly, to present the trophy to the 3 winner drivers as well. And now, to our second runner-up, number 7, Noel Leon from Mexico. And our first runner-up, Oliver Gotha from the Germany. Congratulations. And of course, to the winner, Ugo Chukwu from the USA. Thank you. And I would like to invite back Mr. Gomes. Please remain at the center for a group photo. Please look to the center front, at the camera, at the front, at the media zone as well. Let us capture your spectacular moments. Congratulations to the winning drivers. Thank you very much. Would other drivers please remain on stage on the podium? Please remain at your current position. Thank you, our presenter. Please remain at your current position. And now I would like to invite Chris to have a quick interview with the drivers, please.
Thank you very much. Let's start with Noel. Noel, well done. Just when we thought the rain had stopped, that was crazy, wasn't it? What was it like out there? I know you were only behind the safety car, but it seemed to be dry here, really wet over there, dry and damp in the middle.
Yeah, of course it was really tricky, especially when we arrived about 5 or 6 something with the slicks and it was damp. It was really scary, but yeah.
Behind you, you dug deep.
Yeah, it was close to almost done my race at the beginning. They hit me in turn 3. But yeah, we have a good car and tomorrow we just need to pass the first lap and then we can drive from them.
Well done, congratulations. Let's hop over to Oliver. Oliver, well done. You got a bit overshadowed yesterday, that qualifying session with all the red flags, but it was so close between you and Ugo, 14 thousandths of a second, and you've been so close today again. So we're in for a good race tomorrow, I think.
Yeah, I think so. It's been a very close battle from qualifying. Qualifying was really, really tight throughout the whole session, especially at the end. Also, the start was very close here, and at one point I got really close when it started to rain, but yeah, it was a bit risky on the braking. We didn't know it had rained that much throughout the lap, so yeah, it was a bit on the limit there, and from then on it was just red flag and safety car. So there's still the race tomorrow, the big one. So yeah, I'm gonna give it my all and try to get that win.
And how useful is the experience from last year being this year with all these changing conditions?
Yeah, I mean, the experience is definitely useful, having driven the track last year. I haven't driven in these conditions, though, in the wet and in mixed conditions. None of us have, so that's definitely tricky for us, especially because it's a different car. But yeah, I mean, we've adapted well, and yeah, it's definitely a good battle now.
It will be good. Good luck tomorrow. Hugo, well done to you. You have had to deal with all sorts this weekend with the weather and stoppages. How hard has it been to stay focused and concentrated with everything that's been going on?
Yeah, it was really tricky with the rain that started to fall in sector 1 and 2. I had quite a big gap, so I was just trying to manage it as well as possible and yeah, take no risk through that section. But yeah, really happy to bring it home. The car was working really well. Big thanks to the whole R-Race team. And yeah, it puts us in a really good position for tomorrow's race. And yeah, we keep pushing.
But you were quite pleased that there was no restart and the safety car stayed out.
Yeah, it was quite tricky conditions. As I said, especially in T3, it was really wet. Being in the lead, I had the least spray. So, but yeah, no restart, so it made my life a bit easy. And yeah, as I said, it puts us in a nice place tomorrow. Feeling confident. As I said, car was really good today. And yeah, looking forward to tomorrow's race already.
Well done today. Good luck tomorrow. Your race winner, Ugo Chukwu.
Congratulations. Thank you, Chris. Congratulations to all the drivers. Thank you very much. One more photo on the podium. And congratulations again to all the drivers and riders today. And we do look forward to amazing races tomorrow. And good luck to all the drivers and riders tomorrow. See you all tomorrow. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you.
So the third of the 4 days of the 71st Macau Grand Prix comes to an end, and tomorrow is going to be an important day because we have the Motorcycle Grand Prix, we have the championship deciding round of the Kumho FIA TCR World Tour, we have the Macau SAR Establishment Cup for the local drivers in road sports and in GT4, and of course the FIA GT World Cup and the Macau Grand Prix. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.
Okay, welcome to the press conference, the top 3 finishers from the Macau Grand Prix FIA FR World Cup. We have our race winner, Ugo Chukwu, second place, Oliver Goethe, and third place, Noel Leon. Congratulations to all of you.
歡迎大家嚟到澳門格蘭披治大賽國際汽聯 FR 世界盃選拔賽嘅賽後記者會。首先，我哋恭喜台上面嘅車手，佢哋分別係第1名嘅烏高卓古，第2名嘅戈德同埋第3名嘅里昂。
Ugo, congratulations. It's been a kind of dramatic and chaotic weekend up to today, and more drama in the race. First, about the start, you got away quite well, but Oliver looked like he dragged past you a little bit, even maybe ahead into Mandarin, and then you managed to pull ahead. How was those first kind of moments of the race?
Yeah, start was not bad, but yeah, he managed to get alongside. But yeah, I was able to keep the lead in T3, which was crucial. The first few laps were really good. I got a good safety car restart, which gave me some gap. And yeah, the car was feeling really good in those conditions. Trying to manage the gap as best as possible. And then it started to drizzle a little bit, which made things, yeah, interesting. Made them, yeah, very tricky into the first braking zone, which is already quite bumpy. And yeah, you have to brake really late. And with those slippery conditions, it was even harder. So yeah, I just tried to stay within the limit, not make any mistakes, and yeah, just stick it out until the red flag. Then yeah, obviously we put the wet tires on, but yeah, there was no restart, so just had to bring it home until the end. Yeah, really happy with today's win. It puts us in a really good position for tomorrow again, and with how the pace was today, I'm really confident going in tomorrow, be able to try to get another really good result and take the win.
剛才選拔賽嘅冠軍車手烏高卓古就同我哋分享咗，其實佢喺起步後咧都做得唔錯嘅，喺之後嘅幾圈咧亦都可以保持住個優勢啦。安全車時段佢亦都可以 保持住嗰個同後車之間嘅距離嘅。咁但係咧，其實賽道都因為之後又落雨啦、天氣嘅問題啦，加上中間都有一個紅旗啦，咁所以其實咧喺剎車位啦，同埋喺呢個賽道咁濕咁滑嘅情況底下，可以繼續去保持住嗰個水準同埋保持住嗰個溫度咧，其實都有一定嘅困難嘅。咁佢都好開心啦，最後可以攞到選拔賽嘅冠軍啦，而佢都有信心可以喺聽日嘅正賽裏邊咧繼續作出好嘅表現嘅。
You'd obviously done all the hard work to get ahead, and the restart after the red flag, obviously wet conditions and a chance it could get going again. What was going through your head in those moments? Were you hoping actually it would finish under the safety car, or do you think you'd been up for it if it had gone?
Yeah, in my head I was just, focusing on where to restart, try to get another good safety car restart, as the first one was really good and I was able to make a gap. So yeah, my focus was just to do that again and give me a good safety window into the first braking zone. Obviously, with only one lap to go, if it had restarted, just try and bring it home till the end. But yeah, of course, it never happened.
而烏高卓古亦都有補充到啦，其實喺紅旗之後咧，重新開起步嘅時候咧，佢都一直都好專注喺點樣可以喺重新開始之後咧，可以保持住嗰個優勢嘅。而佢都好開心啦，可以做到啦，咁亦都希望喺聽日嘅比賽裏邊都可以做到一樣嘅效果嘅。
Oliver, well done on second place. Going back to the beginning of the race, it seemed you got kind of your nose just ahead of Ugo on that run down to Mandarin. Then did you lose momentum, or was it just the kind of the racing line you're on through there?
Yeah, it was definitely a close start. I think I got a bit of a better launch off the line. Then T1 is to the left, so I gained a little bit of distance there. And then, yeah, for Mandarin, I mean, I kept it flat all the way up to the wall. But yeah, on the inside, you just do less distance and there's a bit more grip there. So yeah, Ugo managed to get that bit more and then have the inside line for the braking. So there was not much I could do really at the start. Then yeah, after there was some close moments. I got close at the end when it started to rain, but the braking was really sketchy into T3. So yeah, it's a bit too on the limit to make a move there, especially because we didn't know it was raining throughout our lap. It was just raining in that section. So yeah, it was tricky to pass today, but there's still a longer race tomorrow, and yeah, I'm gonna go for it.
而排第2位嘅高德咧，亦都有同我哋分享，其實喺賽事嘅前段咧，佢因為各種嘅原因啦，所以未能夠喺入彎嘅時候咧做咗一個好嘅成績，咁就令到烏高卓古咧可以開始拉開咗個距離啦。咁所以之後咧，佢哋都有曾幾次好接近啦，可以攞到嗰個桿位嘅位置。咁但係因為之後受天雨嘅影響啦，咁其實嗰個剎車同埋成個部署咧都會有唔同嘅。咁但係最後咧，佢都好開心可以有喺呢個咁艱巨嘅賽程中可以攞到呢個成績，希望聽日可以表現得更加好。
We've had very few actual dry laps this weekend between you. There's been almost zero pace difference between the pair of you. What do you feel kind of are the relative kind of strengths, weaknesses of the car so far, and feelings going into tomorrow?
Yeah, as you said, I think it's really close. I think qualifying showed that. Yeah, and the start, we're starting right next to each other, so that's also going to be close tomorrow, I'm sure. And yeah, pace-wise, we'll see how it is tomorrow. I think, as you said, we haven't had so many laps in the dry, so to keep consistent keep consistently on the limit is difficult in this track. So yeah, we'll try to not make any mistakes, and I think I'll get the opportunity at some point.
哥德剛才都有補充到咧，其實佢覺得自己喺排位賽裏邊咧都可以展現到自己嘅實力嘅，咁但係好可惜啦，因為今日其實乾爽嘅賽道上面作賽嘅圈數並唔夠快啦，咁所以咧保持住一個穩定同埋平均嘅水平咧，對於佢嚟講亦都逐漸地艱難啦。咁所以咧，聽日佢希望自己可以唔好喺賽事裏邊犯下任何嘅錯誤啦。佢相信總會有機會可以完成到一個更加好嘅成績嘅。
Now, congratulations on third place, but I think got quite crowded down that kind of run down to Lisboa on lap 1. Was that kind of how are things from your perspective, and did that effectively decide the race?
Yeah, I mean, I get a good launch in the start, similar to Ugo and Oli. Then of course, I couldn't keep flat turn two because I was really close with Enzo, and yeah, I need to lift a bit so that we have a gap between them. But then we arrived to Lisboa. I got hit behind. I almost ended in the wall, but yeah, it was really close. We need to tomorrow have a bit of launch to have more space in the braking for T3. But yeah, we managed to keep it on track.
而第三位嘅里昂咧，亦都表示其實喺起步之後咧，就並未能可以作出一個比較好嘅距離啦，因為其實同隔離嘅車都好近，咁甚至咧進入呢個葡京灣嘅時候咧，仲落咗添，咁但係咧佢對於賽果都滿意啦，咁希望聽日嘅正賽裏邊可以做出更加好嘅成績。
And then before the red flag stoppage, what were conditions like? How tricky were they in that first sector? Because we couldn't see on TV kind of just how much it was raining or what it was like.
Yeah, it was really tricky. Obviously, every lap was darker on that section, so we know that at some point it will be some drops of rain. But yeah, we never thought that it was going to be super quick and super wet when we arrived. So yeah, I saw that Oli and Hugo was kind of battling, so I was going to push a bit more. But then when we arrived there, I just locked up my wheels because it was super damp. So yeah, really tricky that lap. But yeah, it was really difficult because only the section was wet. So the rest you can push flat out. But yeah, this race you need to put on track for tomorrow. Tomorrow is an important race. Yeah, you don't need to do anything wrong today.
咁佢都有補充咧，其實喺紅出事之前呢個天越嚟越黑，咁其實大家都諗住會落雨㗎啦，咁但係就冇諗過咁突然啦，同埋咁大雨啦，咁所以其實喺去到呢個雨勢比較嚴重嘅路段之前咧，佢希望自己可以盡快咁樣向前衝啦 ，keep up 嗰個速度啦，咁但係最後啦好啦，因為去到嗰個路段實在太雨，但係都好開心啦，自己並未喺過程當中犯下錯誤嘅。
Okay, any questions for our top three?
依家開放現場傳媒提問。
Michael Butterworth, Xinhua News Agency. To all three drivers, just briefly, could you explain what winning Macau would mean for your profile and for your progression?
Macau is, yeah, I think winning Macau is super special. I think this track is super historic. You know, it has a great story to it. The circuit hasn't changed much throughout the years. So like I said, it'd be really special to win around here. Also the field on a quality to get everything right, being close to the limit with all the high-speed section. And yeah, even in the racing, to be able to pull it off, be consistent throughout the race, not make any mistakes. With the slipstream, with the really long straight, it's quite tricky to defend. And I think to bring it home around here would be really special.
Yeah, for me it's extremely special, this race. I think it would mean everything to me to win this race. It's such a special event, to be honest. Historically, there's been so many amazing drivers that's been here, that's won here. So yeah, to win would just be an amazing feeling. To win it's really difficult as well. As I said, to be able to qualify so close to the front, you have to be really on the limit and keep out the walls throughout the entire weekend. So yeah, it means a lot, and it's definitely very special and good for me and my career.
For me, it will be the same. It's such a special circuit. It's such a special event. You know, we normally race in Europe, so to get a win in Macau is such a special. Yeah, for your career means a lot. So yeah, I love this place. I love the track. I love the people that are here, and yeah, for me it will be very, very grateful. I will be really grateful for winning, and it will be great to close the year with a win in Macau.
Any more questions? No, all good. Congratulations to the three of you. If we can arrange another photograph, that'd be fantastic. Thank you.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the press conference for the qualifying session of the 56th edition of the Cycle Grand Prix. In third place for FHO Racing BMW Motorrad, Peter Hickman. Second place for 38 Motorsport by Pens 13 Racing, Erno Costamo, who appears to have gone missing. And on pole position for FHO Racing BMW Motorrad, Davey Todd. Dave, we'll come to you first. It's been a trying couple of days, but we've got a good end. Well done.
Yeah, Pete were just talking about on the way up here, and it was actually a really difficult session, not only because of the conditions, but what we've had to sort of go through the ups and downs of the last couple of days is something that's it's quite hard to explain actually, but sort of preparing yourself to go out and get out for practice and qualifying sessions, and then getting told, you know, very shortly before the session it's not going to go, and it's when the weather's turned and stuff like that, it's your moods go up and down, up and down, up and down for the last couple of days or few days, and finally getting out this morning, the track conditions still been sketchy and starting to rain. It's hard to sort of get your head in the zone to do a half decent lap if you will. So really surprised at the lap time I did, given all those circumstances. But I think we're all a bit steady out there. Oh, I felt like I was anyway.
歡迎大家嚟到澳門格蘭披治電車第56屆大賽排位賽嘅賽後記者會。首先，我喺前面嘅車手，佢哋分別係第一名嘅陶德，第二名未能出席今次記會嘅哥同埋第三名嘅移民嘅。剛才咧，陶特都有同我哋講過咧，其實喺成個比賽過程當中，因為由比賽週開始啦，本身可以上賽道由自由練習開始，咁之後被取消啦，然之後多次嘅更改嘅時間咧，其實都好影響心情。咁今日終於有機會可以上到賽道啦，但係又因為天嘅影響同埋賽道嘅狀況咧而受到干擾啦，所以其實好難去集中真係好 focus 咁樣去完成一場賽事。咁佢對自己擦出好嘅圈速都覺得好驚喜啦，亦都好開心啦。
Peter, before we get to the lap and the session itself, you took a senior rider role and went round with the course inspectors looking at what was going on. How's that?
Yeah, asked to just to go and have a look, just to give some opinion. Obviously, I'm fairly experienced here, as is Michael Rutter, Paul Jordan, who were both in the car as well. But it's just so wet. We were not really expecting just quite how much water had come down, and it took a long time to dry. Normally, mechanic dries really fast, but I think because it's early in the morning and the humidity is really high already, I think it was really struggled to kind of dry. But once it started, it actually dried up really fast. But yeah, it was the first time I've actually been around the Macau gear in a car.
剛才咧第三名嘅克爾文都有同我哋分享，其實喺賽事進行喺紅旗嘅階段咧，佢啦同埋佢嘅隊友咧都有被邀請去同賽事嘅人員一齊去睇下個賽道嘅狀況嘅。咁佢就話今次其實係佢第一次以4個轆咁樣去喺東望洋嘅賽道上邊去感受呢條賽道啦。咁佢就話其實喺當時咧見到條賽道都好濕啦，咁加上其實乾嘅時間都比較長，但係好彩嘅就係咧排賽進行嘅期間呢條賽道就乾得好快。
And qualifying itself and your lap, happy with the front row?
Yeah, actually really happy with the front row. Don't know what yeah, really happy with the front row. It's you know, I'm somebody that takes a long time to get going generally, and that was session 1 for us. So and with all the interruptions, what he was saying, it's been a hard week for the motorcycle, but hey, it's the way it goes. It's the same for all of us, and yeah, I'm actually to be as close as what I am, to be fair, because like I say, I'm really kind of a builder sort of rider. I tend to like session lap I get a bit faster each time, and yeah, to be kind of half second issue a little bit more is yeah, I'm more than happy with the front row.
克爾文亦都有補充到，其實佢覺得自己咧並非係嗰啲可以喺賽事前段就擦出最佳圈速嘅人，係一個要逐圈不停咁樣去速嘅一個人啦。所以佢對今次嘅比賽嘅成績咧，同埋可以喺首排發車咧呢個賽 係非常之滿意嘅。咁佢認為其實對所有電單車嘅車手嚟講咧，今個比賽週末都非常之艱巨啦，所以佢好開心我哋擦出到一個圈速可以繼續到比賽嘅。
And finally, Davey, hopefully for you, one better than last year, but it's going to be a race at the front.
Yeah, for sure. You know, I'm under no illusion that pole position is going to give me the race victory. I know we're going to battle hard, and we've got Erno to contend with, which I know he'll push really hard as well and have a go. So it's going to be a good battle. I'm looking for one better than last year for sure, and hopefully we can put the FHO BMW on the top step here in Macau, or the top 3 steps would be really good.
最後亦都有補充到啦，佢好期待咧可以同克爾文咧再次好似舊年一樣咧上演又一場嘅爭位戰，希望可以代表廠隊再次攞到好成績。
Well, thanks very much. Good luck for tomorrow. In third place for FHO Racing Motorrad, Peter Hickman, and pole position for FHO Racing BMW Motorrad, Davey Todd.
Of the 2024 Kumo FIA TCR World Tour. Congratulations to the drivers and the representative of the winning manufacturer here. And let's start with the third classified, Michele Ascona. So Michele, maybe the critical moment was the start. Are you happy with your start?
Yes, it was for me the only chance to attack Ted. I did my best on the launch. I think I had a average start, but I was not enough to fight against him in Lisbon, because the first meter I felt that he was stronger than me, and then top speed I think he was stronger than me, so I was not in a good position to go for an overtake in Lisbon, and I tried my best. And then after the red flag, with Norby behind me and Ian behind, so we decided to think on the championship, and we show position. So yeah, very happy for that. Strategy work perfectly. And anyways, happy for this podium with the extra 30 kilos. I can be really happy to be now P3 here in Macau in this challenging track with the extra weight. So anyways, very happy for that and target achieved.
歡迎大家嚟到澳門東望人大賽 Kumo 國際汽聯 TCR 世界巡迴賽澳門站第1回合正賽嘅賽後記者會。首先我哋恭喜台上面嘅3位車手，佢哋分別係111號車手比亞克。排第2嘅係米治利斯，第3名嘅係阿斯哥拿，同埋咧我哋有廠隊嘅代表嘅。咁剛才咧阿斯哥拿咧就分享咗佢喺啱啱呢場比賽嘅成個過程啦。咁佢覺得自己喺起步嗰度咧係做得唔錯嘅。喺比賽過程當中，尤其是喺紅旗之後咧，其實佢都有盡力去將自己嘅名次推到最前啦。但係好可惜咧，過程當中佢未能夠成功可以爭上更加前嘅位置。但係佢對呢一個可以喺澳門攞到第3名嘅呢一個成績咧，都非常之滿意嘅。
You spoke about helping your teammate in view of the title fight, but your title fight is not over yet. You are only 26 points behind him, and there are 30 points at stake tomorrow. So how do you see tomorrow's race?
Mathematically, for sure, I am still, but if we think about that, Norby is fighting for that, and our goal is him, to be honest. To be very fair, make no sense to to make me fighting for something almost impossible. And yeah, I think we have to be very focused on that tomorrow, and we need to finish the job. It's not done, so we have to be smart tomorrow and to try to win it and to do our best. I don't want to skip to congrats Ted and Norby for this race, and yeah, I think it's what I said.
而佢亦都有補充到啦，其實以成個車隊同埋成個整體嘅戰略嚟睇嘅話咧，其實佢就覺得因為佢同爭奪呢個年度冠軍中間嘅嗰個距離都已經比較大啦，所以其實佢繼續為個人向前推進咧，其實冇乜意義嘅，反而係希望可以為成個車隊攞到更加好嘅成績為先。而聽日嘅比賽咧，佢哋都會繼續專注於做呢一件事嘅。
Second in the race, but still first in the championship, Norbert Michelis. Norbert, was there anything else you can do today to beat Ted?
First, I need to start with two things, saying thank you very much to my teammate Mikel, and also congrats to Ted. My race started good. I had a very good start. I could immediately pass Jan, and this was a very important thing because being behind Mikel, we agreed before the race some strategies for some scenarios, but then I was hoping for him to overtake Ted. I saw that he did his best, but in the end, I think we scored very good for the team championship. We scored very good points for the drivers' championship. Again, we showed that we are working very good together as a team, because you know in Macau it's never easy. You can do everything right, and you can still get unlucky. So I still don't think it's time to think about 5 points leading the championship or starting order for the race tomorrow, because I mean you saw after the start. T3, T4 today, you can be caught up in a huge mess for no reason. So in the end, I think the target has to be to stay focused, still to improve the car a bit, because today I was pushing quite hard, but I felt that Ted had the edge on me in terms of pace. But yeah, let's wait and see. Tomorrow it's going to be important to have a good start, and like usual, I will give my best.
排喺第二位，亦都係國際汽聯 TCR 世界巡迴賽目前車手榜嘅榜首米捷利斯咧，就有分享到。首先佢好希望藉此機會咧，可以多謝佢嘅隊友啦，喺比賽過程當中都幫咗佢好多。佢覺得自己喺比賽中咧嘅起步做得好好，好快咧就超越咗艾拿卓。之後咧本身以為可以同佢有一番激烈嘅爭位戰啦，但係好可惜就冇啦。咁其實佢覺得喺成個比賽過程當中咧，作為成個團隊啦，喺呢一場賽甚至係成個錦標賽、成個巡迴賽嘅過程當中，其實都非常之好。喺澳門咧一直都係非常之艱難嘅賽道，即使你冇犯任何嘅錯誤，都未必係可以攞到冠軍嘅。所以佢依家諗嘅咧已經唔係佢喺車手榜度以5分嘅優勢領先啦，佢反而係希望咧可以喺聽日嘅比賽裏邊繼續專注參加比賽同埋不斷進步，攞到最好嘅成績。
Norby, tomorrow is another day, another race, a different grid. You will start ahead of Ted, but you will have 6 other drivers ahead of you. Will it be complicated?
You have to imagine, Fabio, it's the last race of the season, the championship being at stake, and we are in Macau. So the only thing I'm sure about that it will not be a straightforward race, and it will not be a straightforward approach to turn 3. And then, like I said, you can do everything right, and you can be still caught up in a mess. So for me, my strategy will be to focus on myself, to do the best possible start, and then to hope to have some luck.
佢亦都補充到啦，其實聽日嘅比賽就係本賽季嘅最後一場賽事，加上喺澳門東海人跑道上面進行，其實淨係呢2個因素咧，就已經知道聽日嘅比賽一定會非常之艱巨啦，好有挑戰性啦。尤其是喺入到第3彎嘅時候，其實之後嘅賽事都更加艱難啦。所以佢咧依家都希望自己可以繼續專注喺比賽裏邊啦，同埋希望呢個幸運嘅女神可以眷顧佢。
Let's get to the race winner today. Ted, we cannot say that you are not trying everything to revert the situation in the standings, because pole position yesterday, race win today, you are definitely scoring the maximum of points so far, so you should be very proud of yourself.
Yeah, it feels very good to be here. So a big thank you to my competition. Congratulations also with what Mikkel did yesterday. I managed to beat him with 200s, just 200s, and he has more kilos in his car. So I think that was the winning point today, that I could start just in front of you. So and big respect also because Mikkel, I know he's such a hard and good fighter, but he gave me the respect today, and so I can only be so happy where I'm sitting and with the win. But Norby said tomorrow, new day, and he's leading. So, and I'm starting behind from P10. So, yeah, it's nice to have a victory in Macau, but I know it's not over yet. But I'm very happy.
而今場賽事嘅冠軍比約克咧，亦都分享到啦，佢非常之開心可以嚟到澳門參賽啦，好多謝佢就係身邊嘅兩位車手可以同佢一齊同場競技，尤其是係譬如話同阿斯哥拿啦，其實佢哋之前咧都已經有一個比較激烈嘅爭位戰啦，而佢好多謝咧米治里斯喺今場賽事當中咧冇將佢推到最盡，好尊重佢，等佢可以有機會咧去攞到呢一場賽事嘅冠軍嘅。咁聽日又係新嘅一日啦，咁佢覺得自己會繼續專注喺呢個比賽過程當中，同埋攞到最好嘅成績。
Only 5 points between you. That after such a long season is a very small gap. So what will be your strategy to fill these latest 5 points?
Now, but first I have to start with saying that now I'm sitting here winning, and it feels like when I just entered the WTCC 2016, this was my dream, fighting with the best drivers, and I'm doing it now in a good way. So I'm really, very happy for this. Norby has been in the game so long, so when I came to the championship, I was like, I have to beat Norby. But tomorrow, 5 points. Many things has happened during the championship. It's just, it's the last race and it's Macau, but it's been a lot of things happening before in the season. So, for me, let's just race fair and let's crown the champion tomorrow and clean way, I hope. So.
而剛才咧，我哋亦都有問到比約克其實自己同米治里斯之間咧只有5個積分嘅差距啦。佢聽日嘅戰略會唔會有所改變？咁佢表示咧，其實自己喺2016年開始駕駛同類賽車之後咧，反而佢一直以嚟嘅夢想就係希望可以同最好嘅車手去同場競技。咁佢好開心啦，可以同米治里斯一齊參加比賽啦。聽日會係喺澳門嘅最後一場賽事，亦都係成個巡迴賽嘅最後一場。所以佢希望依家佢已經唔再諗車手嘅積分啦，佢唯一關注嘅咧就係希望聽日可以係一場公平啦同埋好順利嘅比賽。
So the drivers' championship was to be decided tomorrow, but the team's championship has been decided today and went to Lincoln Co. Saiyan Racing. We have Alexander Murzeski, head of Geely Motorsport. So Alexander, as a great satisfaction for you and all the group, I believe.
Yes, and it's quite magical. I think my first time in Macau was in 2004. We had an evaluation season that back then with the Volvo, and we came here, we dreamt actually to be a full-time competitor on this track. And obviously now we come here today with the Lincoln Co. The brand just turned 7 years old. It has been racing for 5 years old, and today was the 100th podium in 5 years, and winning the team title. So it's really a magical moment. And also in this place, which is like the epicenter of motorsport in the East, it's just amazing.
雖然我哋嘅車手總冠軍啦，要等聽日先至可以公佈啦，但係其實咧車隊嘅總冠軍咧已經係啱啱呢一場比賽結束之後誕生咗㗎啦，咁就係由 Lincoln Co 車隊去奪得嘅。咁我哋剛才亦都訪問咗車隊嘅代表啦，咁佢就話咧，其實佢自己咧就係2004年第一次嚟到澳門。咁 Lincoln Co 咧其實呢個廠隊咧就成立咗7年啦，參加賽車咧其實都已經有5年嘅時間。今日喺澳門嘅呢一個成績係佢哋嘅第100個前3甲嘅成績，所以對佢哋嘅成個團隊嚟講嘅意義都非常之重大啦。佢覺得可以喺澳門呢一種史詩級嘅賽道上面比賽咧係非常之高興啦，亦都非常之開心可以攞到呢個成績嘅。
And I believe you can say that it has been a memorable season for the team, not only for the championship, but also because 3 weeks ago you managed to have a victory of Ma Qinghua, a Chinese driver in a Chinese car on a Chinese racetrack, that I think that is something that you will remember forever.
Yeah, of course. I think every victory is special in its own way, but as you know, during the years of the pandemic, we were not able to have a home race, and finally we are there this year in Zhuzhou, and Ma scoring this victory with absolutely amazing driving on the last lap through the last 5 corners, side by side with Girolami. Super good fight and super fair from both drivers, and yeah, it just been a really amazing journey, and we're so happy to have the championship stabilize and focus on the core, which is pure racing, tough competition, the best teams, drivers in the world in the same space. So really looking forward to tomorrow. As I said, Ted has nothing to lose. He can only win tomorrow, I think, or flat out, and hope that we have a good ending of the season. It's been a fantastic so far, and big credit to Norby, Ascona, Girolami, fantastic squadra for sure, really good, tough competition but fair. So yeah, we really enjoy being here.
佢咧亦都有補充到，其實早前喺賽季嘅前幾站咧，佢喺株洲咧，其實都上演咗一場好激烈嘅戰爭嘅，咁就係由呢個中國車手啦駕駛住呢個賽車，即兩位車手一直爭奪到最後一圈嘅最後5個彎位咧，先至可以出到一個最後嘅成績啦。咁所以其實佢覺得成個賽季咧，佢哋每一次有車手站喺頒獎台上邊嘅時候咧，佢都非常之開心啦，覺得每一次都值得慶祝。賽季進行至今咧，佢覺得自己佢哋嘅表現都非常之好啦，希望聽日嘅最後一場比賽裏邊咧都可以有一個唔錯嘅成績。
So, any questions from the floor?
依家開放俾現場傳媒朋友提問。
Okay, so may I have a round of applause, please? And let's make a picture all together. Thank you.